Welcome to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Empowering women like you to amplify your voice, your message, your movement. We believe that if 10,000 new women stepped into high-level leadership platforms, we can transform the industries across the planet. 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. And now your host, Narissa Street.
How do you handle the cost of doing business while being in integrity with yourself? Kelly Diels, a culture maker who runs her business to make both money and justice, shares her practices with us in this juicy episode. Listen in. Hi there, hi there, hi there. So excited that you are here again for the podcast. We are welcoming you once again to this amazing podcast that is here for you to help you amplify your voice and find yourself rising up above all the noise in your industry. So it is my absolute pleasure to have you listen to today someone who is absolutely amazing, someone who I follow, and of course wanted to bring to you Kelly Diels. How are you?
I'm great. And thank you for having me here this morning.
Yay. Thank you for making the time because I know you have things to do. I'm so happy that one of the things to do today is our podcast. So, number one, tell us who you are.
I'm a culture maker. And what I mean by that is I've had the realization that we have the power to shape our realities, shape our cultures, and when we act together, we actually can do that. And I don't mean that there's not barriers, that there aren't real limitations going on in our lives. I actually mean that our power is even more acute because of that. And I'm not trying to ignore them. I'm actually trying to change those things. But what I realize is culture isn't out there. It's not something that happens to us exclusively. It's also something that we're making all the time. So you and I in this conversation, we're making a little culture. And you and I at the doctor's office or in the grocery line, the interactions that we choose to have each other, we are making culture. So culture is something that lives through us. And if we all disappeared tomorrow, so would our cultures. So it isn't something that we just have to accept and co-sign. We can shape back.
I love that. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was so attracted to your work and exactly what it is that you're doing in the world. Because I think your perspective on how powerful we are each individually is wonderful to see out in the marketplace and commercially. So talk about how that philosophy that I am a culture maker lends itself to the work that you're doing in the world.
I mean, it's foundational, really. So when I think that I'm a culture maker, then I get to choose. Do I just let an unjust culture flow through me, like use my voice as a vehicle for that unjust culture? Or do I interrupt it and say something different? And so I always am trying to interrupt that unjust culture and say something different and do something different. That includes on my social media. I am going to show up and speak what I know to be true about our world. I am going to advocate for justice, and I'm going to do it in the context of my business. So I'm going to look at my business practices and think, how am I perpetuating an unjust culture in my business practices? Am I overriding consent, which supports rape culture, or am I celebrating consent and inviting it at every opportunity in my business and in my sales funnels? So I look at like every business practice that I'm doing as an opportunity for power and culture making and creating a new reality and a new world. I want to live into it right now.
So I think so much. So I think what's really interesting is that we tend to separate those things, right? We think about the things that we believe and the things that we think are important, and we put on a commerce hat and a commercial hat, and we say, okay, well, that's one facet of my life, but now in my business, I have to be open to everybody. But for you to take a stand and say that this is not only are my beliefs going to be important to me every day in my personal life, but this is how I run my business. So talk about the practices. You're saying now you're using your business to practice the reality. So you talked first about consent culture, which again, usually a very gendered conversation, but you're saying that this is a specific business practice. So talk to me about what does that look like?
So for example, in email marketing, if I'm going to run a launch for a program, that usually means I'm going to send 20 emails in 20 days. That's a lot of emails. And someone who signed up for my newsletter, which happens every Sunday, might not have understood that they're also going to get marketing materials. Those of us who are entrepreneurs know that that's what happens, but people who aren't entrepreneurs don't necessarily know when they're joining a newsletter, they're also going to get sales material. So before I run a launch, I send an email out refreshing consent. And I specifically say, hey, I have a new program coming out, and that means I'm going to send a whole lot of emails across the next 20 to 30 days. And here's what the program is about. If you already know that this isn't your thing, you're not interested, and you don't want to receive those sales emails, then click here and I'll make sure not to send you them. And on the back end, they get tagged and I don't send those people those emails. What that does is preserves my list as a whole so that people can opt out of something they don't want to receive rather than unsubscribing from everything. And what I did was I invited their explicit permission to market to them. So consent isn't a one and done thing. Just because we consented once to signing up to an email doesn't mean we have consented ever after to anything that person might want to say to us. So I think consent is a live document. We need to keep signing it.
Yeah. And that's just in relationships. That's everywhere.
Right.
That is genius. And that is definitely a very explicit practice of who you are in your business. And I think there's so many people who struggle with stepping into business because they think I've got to give up a portion of the things that I believe in order to have a market. So how does that, let's be real. How does that affect your bottom line? Is it positive? Is it negative? What happens?
It improves it. And this completely surprised me. So the first time I sent that refresh consent email, I fully expected that my launch wouldn't do as well. But what happened with that first consent email, people bought the thing off of that consent email and went onto my website and dug up more expensive things to buy. And one person emailed me and said, I've been thinking about working with you for a while, but this refreshing consent email confirmed that you are the teacher for me, and bought something more expensive that I wasn't even trying to sell. So it actually unexpectedly completely affirms to the right people that you're the right teacher, that this is the right product, this is the right vehicle. So anytime that people can trust you, your sales will go up. And this is one of the things that I want to speak to. There is this narrative out there that says we have to wear the business mask, which means hiding your principles and not building justice principles into your business because suddenly we think justice costs money or reduces sales. So I want to give a case study of someone who proves that justice does not cost you sales. Rachel Rogers, the founder of Hello 7, posted a video in May, a very strong video critiquing another big business figure for not having a substantive anti-racist practice in their business. That business video went viral, and Rachel wasn't even trying to go viral, right? She was just upset at how the norm in white businesses is not to center brown and black and indigenous experiences and therefore exclude those people from the work and make them uncomfortable in Facebook groups, et cetera, et cetera. So she made a really powerful critique. The video went viral. The next month, June, Rachel had $1 million month.
Yeah.
So she did just fine. She probably added like 70,000 or 100,000 people to her list who then bought from her. So you being unapologetically you, believing what you believe and showing up like that in your business can be good for business. And one of the great secrets of marketers, great marketers and great brands know that there is no middle ground. There is nothing in the middle of the road except roadkill and a yellow line. There is no customer in the middle of the road. The way that your business does well is by finding who your customer is and speaking to them and them only. So have that polarizing message, not for the sake of being polarizing, for the sake of being true to who you are and what your business is about. And your right customer will find you, will see you, will want to work with you. Standing out from the crowd is how our businesses work. That is what marketing is about, standing out from the crowd. You being unique is how you stand out from the crowd. And you are, a child of God, unique in this world.
Right.
There is no one like you. So be all of who you are in your business. That is your biggest marketing asset. And I can even tell you that when I was playing by the rules and putting on my beige marketing hat and putting on the corporate face and trying to swallow my principles to play the game, my business never got traction. It just faded into the background. Right. When I became unleashed and decided to say exactly what I thought and build my principles into my business unapologetically, that's when my business took off. And within 18 months, my revenue tripled.
Hey, this is a great episode, right? Want to carry the insight from our show wherever you go? Visit myjoyisvaluable.com for the best resources that we've gathered that are inspired by expert guests. Find support for your business, tools to organize your life, and more. That's myjoyisvaluable.com.
So first of all, yay. These are all the stories that we're looking for in this podcast. We're looking for stories of people who, like yourself, are standing on who they are, right? You're standing on who you are, and your business tripled in 18 months. So there's some things behind that we hear the story and then we don't hear like the back end. So what other decisions did you have to make in your mind? What were some thoughts that you were going through before you said, you know what, basta, I am moving forward in this direction? What thoughts were you hearing that were maybe counter to that were saying like, no, this is not a good idea? Be transparent with us about that so we can hear ourselves.
So my pivotal moment came after Eric Garner's death. And there was a big marketer and business builder in New York who I followed, who'd been really influential in shaping my approach to business. And she styled herself as a world changer and a game changer, and I really believed it. And she lived in New York, and Eric Garner's killers had just not been indicted. And there were protests in her city. And she sent an email out to her huge list saying, in these outrageous times, if you want to turn your pain at injustice into power, I've got something for you. And that landed my heart, because I'm like, yeah, you know what? I have a Black husband, 5 Black children, and this is in my heart, right? And I am in fear, and this is outrageous. And how do we live like this? How do we do this to our people? I'm getting emotional about it, but I wanted to turn my pain and injustice into power. I wanted to be a culture maker. So I clicked through to the video from her email, and it was her lip syncing to Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass. This person is a white person. All About That Bass, having a Black makeup artist touch up her face, and then told us about, she got an email from a viewer saying that she has an irritating coworker who really damages her mood, and how does she change her mood? How does she change one headset into another headset, and one mindset into another mindset? And then she prescribed us this Buddhist practice of Tonglen to shift your mindset. And I was watching this, and I literally started to physically shake from anger. And I was just like, you just leveraged Black death to get me to click through to this video that isn't even about transforming my pain and injustice into power. It's about not being upset at an irritating coworker. You recorded this video months ago and just wrote a misleading email to get me to click through. And I was just like sick, And then I was like, this thing that I've been observing, the problem that I see in marketing, especially in like women's empowerment spaces, It's bigger than violating consent. It's bigger than shady marketing practices. It is literally white supremacy in heels. And I'm not going to be part of this.
Wow. Ooh, okay.
And I was just like, I am out. I am out. And I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to do something different in my business. I'm going to go through my business and prune out all of these business practices. I'm going to rethink my niche. I'm going to rethink who my client is and who I center and who I love and who I follow and allow to influence me. It's all on. And I wrote a huge essay called The Female Lifestyle Empowerment Brand, and what's wrong with the female lifestyle empowerment brand and how it has completely become the norm in our industries. And as I was about to publish it, I thought, everybody is going to hate me. I'm going to lose my list. Nobody's going to be my friend. I'm going to lose all the contacts and relationships I have.
Right.
And so be it. Because I am not going to play this game anymore. I am not co-signing this unjust culture with my life or my business. I am out. So I press go, I press publish. Sure enough, lost half my list that I had spent 3 years building in the space of a week. And Godspeed. I'm going to do something different. And 3 months later, my list was bigger than it had ever been, because I kept writing these pieces. I kept figuring out how we could do it differently in a really practical way. And I invited the right kind of clients who could meet me and who wanted to build this just world that we are dreaming of.
So here's this pivotal moment, right?
Yes.
And I think this is the part where everybody gets frightened.
Right. I was frightened, Marissa.
Right.
I was like, everybody's going to hate me. And sure enough, people were talking about me in groups. There was whole threads like bashing what I wrote.
Right.
For real, that happened.
Right. So I want us to hold on that, because the thing is people just kind of like, okay, well, and we got through it. And what I love about what you're saying is that this is what happened. People started bashing me. I lost my list, but in that 3-month space, right, where your list then came back, what did you do to keep going? What was going on for you? Did you have a system behind you? What was your infrastructure like? Let's get into that, because that's the part where everybody's scared, because I can't take this risk because I'm going to lose customers. Yes, you are. But then this is what you need to do so that we can get to the other side. So tell us what you lost the list. Then what happened?
So I stayed visible. I told myself I was making a bare minimum commitment to social media, and I was going to show up every day on Facebook or Instagram and say one thing that mattered to me. That was my commitment. So I showed up every single day, 7 days a week, and wrote something. Sometimes it was one sentence. Sometimes it was like 500 words. But every single day I showed up and said something that mattered to me. So I stayed visible and I stayed in front of people. And even though I was getting dragged, I did not back up. I did not apologize. I did not retreat. I didn't go into a hole and lick my wounds. I was like, I said what I said, and I meant it. And I'm going to keep saying it every single day. And I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to find out who else wants to do things differently. So then there is an infrastructure, because in addition to showing up every single day and saying one thing that mattered, I asked people to subscribe to my newsletter. I invited people to join my list. And so then 3 months later, when I offered a mastermind, for 15 people, a feminist marketing mastermind. Here's how we're going to do this business differently. I thought it was going to be a hard sell. It immediately sold out, and I had to offer 2 more. So instead of offering 15 people spots, I had 3 cohorts of 15. I had 45 people signed up. Wow. But that's because for the last 3 months, I was collecting email addresses. So there was an infrastructure. Here's the link, click through, sign up. And I kept sending those newsletters, and I kept showing up on social media. So the infrastructure behind like the face of an online business, we show up on social media. Social media is just the front door. It is just the greeter in the Gap store, right? Asking you to come in and take a look at some jeans. So you go on social media, you greet your audience, and you invite them in to your list. Then you send them newsletters about substantial things. And you also send mailers, email sales emails in addition to your regularly scheduled newsletter. And those pieces are the actual infrastructure that creates sales. So behind the scenes, you have this little machine working.
Yeah. Yeah. And you support that machine with your consistency. So the consistent voice, which you cannot do if you are not dedicated to this work, right? So the consistency does not, your consistency, right, along with the procedures of the newsletter and the email links and everything, your consistency came out of your commitment. You know,
it did. So when you said infrastructure, there's a certain moral infrastructure as well.
Right.
You have to have this moment where you're like, I am all in. And part of I am all in is also I am all out. Right? Like I am divesting of this thing. I am not doing this thing. And the thing that you could decide that you no longer are doing is like, I divest of broke. I am not doing broke anymore, right? I divest of struggle, and I am all in to doing whatever it takes to get this business to revenue stability and eventually to scale. So you have to have this moment where you're like, what I've been doing, I'm done. And so the moment I had with, I am done playing along with white supremacy. I am out. I am done with this female lifestyle empowerment brand. I am done with white supremacy and heels. I am done. So you have to have that I'm all out moment so that you are 100% committed to doing something different. And you're going to be out there with your machete hacking brush, figuring out the path going forward.
And that, I think that's the other thing as well. When you said the machete hacking brush, it is I am doing this in the wilderness for a bit until you hear some other machetes. Right. Folks too, like, hey, wait, I'm not by myself. But it's this thing also where there is a moment where we are by ourselves because, and I think this is part of it too, you have to be by yourself to make sure that it is yourself. Like it isn't other people's voices. It isn't other people's voices still, you know, moving you in one direction or another. And I think that's the thing that what I love about your story about the I'm out. And then we haven't even gotten here yet. That very, what that pivot looked like also took on a visual form too, because just the whole, I realize that I'm also contributing to this by what it's doing to me, which is what attracted me to you, which was the feminist marketing, yes, but then also you had this, I'm not just out from the female lifestyle empowerment, white supremacy and heels thing, but also what it's doing to me and what kind of face I have to put out there. So talk about how like it shifted you everywhere, like where your face shifted as well.
It did. So what I think the story that doesn't get told by people with privileged identities and like skin privilege in particular is that this stuff makes us into monsters, right? It makes us into clowns and performers. Right? Because we have to play a role. And so what that was doing to me is I was playing along with the female lifestyle empowerment brand. I was showing up and being positive and pretty and, you know, saying all the right things. And that is not sustainable. And you cannot be consistent about that because that's a performance. Performance takes a lot of energy. You know, when actors go on stage, they can perform at that level for 90 minutes. And then they go home and recuperate. So we cannot perform caricatures of ourselves, brand caricatures of ourselves, and get consistency in our visibility or our businesses. And that's what was happening for me. So I could not get consistency in my business because I was performing a version of myself. A safe, beige pant wearing version of myself.
Hold on. I want to make sure the audience heard that. You could not sustain it, right? Because you were performing,
and it takes too much energy.
Version of yourself, and if you're having a problem with consistency, maybe what it's time to look at is where you're performing versus where you're being.
Right. It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. The energy drain and the energy drain of having to swallow your principles and say nothing. That hurts, right? It hurts. It's a drag. And I don't mean like it's a drag, like it's unfortunate. I mean, it's a literal energy drag. It's like running in sand with a parachute behind you. That kind of putting energy into that activity is not life-giving or generative, and you will not be able to sustain it. But I can show up every day and say something that matters to me because it actually matters to me. It doesn't take energy. It's real, it's true, it's living in me, and I didn't have to perform it. I just had to let myself say it.
So I want that to land. You had to let yourself say it. You had to allow, you had to permit. And how many of us who are listening to this audio, who are watching, I want you all to take a moment and find some place where you haven't permitted yourself to say something that is your truth, right?
And I don't want people to be ashamed of that.
Yeah, but that's it. It's,
I think there's a reason why we don't let ourselves say it. So as a white woman, I have been conditioned to be nice and to be likable and always make everything easy and comfortable for everyone around me. So I have been trained not to say hard things my entire life. 4 decades of training in being likable, because likability is my survival strategy. And anyone who has a marginalized identity, if you're queer, if you have a racialized identity, you have been cultured, like encultured and socialized to play along with people who have more power than you. Your survival depends on being likable. That's what we have been trained to believe. So it's not, we don't have to be ashamed of this. This is just like a universal in our culture for everyone who's not a white man. White men are not trained to be likable. Everyone else is. That's how we get along. That's how we survive. So we actually have to like break that conditioning, and it hurts. It's visceral. It's deeply uncomfortable. But we have to stop trying to be likable and respectable and making ourselves palatable to the system, because the system is not for us. It never has been. And so we have to break its rules in order for us to rise and for a new world to arise. So we have to get out of likability.
Whew. So, and not only getting out of likability also is getting out of survival, right? Yes. So that's the thing. I think, a lot of the people in my audience, we're doing this shift. Right. And so when you've been doing survival for so long, survival is a habit, like the survival mindset is a habit. But moving into thriving is not something that you have yet designed. And it's something we talk about all the time in the workshops that I do, where it's you're shifting yourself into thriving. And because it's unfamiliar, it's triggering. It triggers the fight or flight because we don't know what this thing is. And it's really the discomfort in a thriving mindset, that mindset of, I don't have to be liked. I'm okay. My survival doesn't depend on you. So what now? Talk to us now about, you're on the other side. You had the consistent voice. You showed up. People didn't like you for a bit, but the people who do like you are with you, are writing for you, are buying your products. And more importantly, I think for you, you can feel like you are doing the business practices that support your family, not just financially, but morally support your family. So where are you now?
I mean, the financial piece is actually a big piece, right? Because again, the world is not set up to support families like mine. And there is a whole generation of women above me, elders in my family, who are vulnerable, alone, don't have any money, and are in deep trouble. And so that's something that's important to me. The financial piece is really important to me. I am able to support another household in addition to my own household. I'm able to support an elder in my family. Wow. And I'm able to protect her from the dangers that happen when you are old and you are vulnerable and you are a woman. So the financial piece is really important. And the financial piece also helped me put an end to a child custody battle that had gone on for 12 years. And until I had the resources to hire a shark of a lawyer, I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't protect my own children. I got the money. I hired a huge lawyer. I ended the thing. I won. I was able to institute some protection in my family. So the financial piece helps us protect our beloveds from an unjust situation, from unjust systems and unjust practices even amongst our own families. So I cannot underestimate how important the financial piece is in order to be able to show up and protect your loved ones and to show up and protect your principles and live in accordance with your principles. So the financial piece is huge. It really is.
Well, I hear that. And I think it's important to note that in order for you to get to that space of financial power, you had to stand in your own power first. You had to be. And this is the thing that we keep going back and forth with: survival, survival, survival. But the survival comes at the cost of your own power. The saying, okay, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I'm standing on. This is what I can be. This is what I am about. Is the thing.
Yes,
that shifts you into thriving, and then allows you to be able to hold on to take the financial power as well. And we struggle with that. Okay, well, no, let me just hold on to this little bit. No, let go of the little bit and go for the big so that you can really do the things that you're here for. That is a really powerful testament.
Well, and it's deviating and divesting too, that allows you to step into your power. So think about this. I'm a fat white woman who comes from generations of intergenerational poverty.
Okay.
I am not supposed to have anything on this planet, right? If I played by the rules, I would have nothing. So I have to break the rules in order to get something. And so keeping us out of our power, keeping us following the rules is what keeps us in survival. So you have to look at your situation and think, if I play along, is it going to work? Am I meant in this system to have anything? And if I play along with it, you know what I'm going to have? Nothing, because I'm not meant to. If we let the system work the way it's been designed to, we will have nothing. So getting in your power means really looking at who you are, what your identity is, and understanding what are you supposed to have in the world if it works the way it's supposed to. And then if that's not acceptable to you, break all the rules. That is what will get you in your power and get you into this place where you can flourish, where your business can flourish.
Yeah, that is so excited. I'm grateful for your stand. Grateful for your stand in the world. Grateful for you having that aha moment. I'm even grateful for that weird marketing lady and her videos, because if not for her, we wouldn't have you where you are now. So, I think this has been a very interesting moment in the world that we're in. I think more people are starting to wake up. And more wake up, yes, to see the world is not necessarily set up, but then also that even as much as the world is set up for your smallness and your survival, the world is also set up for your stepping into who you are and thriving. And it's just a choice, where are we choosing to show up? And I hope that we can tell more stories like yours so that people can see that we're here, the things that we want are possible. So tell us a little bit more about where we can connect with you, what's going on for you right now. What are you excited about? And how can people connect with you in the future?
Well, I can tell you I'm really excited. I live in Canada and we are all starting to get immunized for COVID. So I'm real excited about that.
Sure.
I'm really excited about that. I am excited about the people waking up. I am excited about this consciousness taking hold and this movement to live differently, be differently, and create a more just world. Those are things I'm really excited about. In my own business, I'm excited about that I have a new and clearer business model where I'm offering fewer products and services and really honing in on one thing and doing that one thing really well. So I'm excited about doing that. And I'm excited next year about hopefully spending more time with my family. I've been in business building mode for so long that I'm looking forward to putting a little more on cruise control and spending a little more time with my loved ones, which is the whole point of all of this anyways. That's the point. So I'm excited about all of those things.
Oh, beautiful. So where can my audience connect with you if they've fallen in love with you and decide that they want to reach out to you? Where can they connect with you at this point?
I have a Sunday love letter. It's literally called the Sunday love letter. And it is something that I pour my heart and soul into every week. And I send really chewy, blazing epistles of righteousness. So that's where people could find me most regularly. If you go to kellydiels.com and you subscribe to that, that also means a lot to me. And it's one of the ways that you can support me because it lifts me in the world when people sign up to my Sunday love letter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation for my audience. You know that I love to bring people like Kelly to you so that you can hear the stories that you need to open your heart to what really you're here for. So please, share this episode as you see fit. And it has been my honor to be your podcaster. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Find us at 10,000women10,000stages.com.